Live now to New Delhi, Professor Sreeram Chaulia, who's Dean of the Jindal School of International Affairs. Professor, welcome back to RT. Was India's decision to revoke Kashmir's autonomy illegal, as people in both India and Pakistan are arguing right now? Some are calling it the death of Indian democracy.
No, not at all. I think it's well within the democratic framework of India. In fact, the change was enacted through overwhelming vote in the Indian Parliament, which is elected by the people of our country. And the constitutional provision allows for such a procedure, and also for the executive, who is the president of India, through an order to revoke this special status that Kashmir had enjoyed. This is a kind of an internal reorganization and restructuring to improve the governance in Kashmir and to remove a lot of the irritants and the problems that had held the region back, especially secessionism and separatism and pro-Pakistan sentiments. So I think, as a sovereign state, India has a legitimate right and therefore is exercising this legal option to try and integrate this region better, because it had been, festering with a lot of Islamic extremism and jihadism and separatism. And we are trying to now control that and bring it into the mainstream.
Although it was a semi-autonomous region, wasn't it? People are going to find it difficult to understand how it can be seen as democratic if India is going to ride roughshod over a leadership that was in place in Kashmir.
No, the same leaders who had been in place will again contest for elections under the new reorganized system. It's just that they will not be having the kind of extraordinary powers that they used to enjoy and misuse in the past. I mean, how can you have a country where one region has its own constitution with its own flag and with its, ability to override the central government laws? So, the problem started with this autonomy in the first place, because that was it was like a slippery slope leading to secessionism and for Pakistan to interfere and to promote the alienation of the locals against India. So India is simply consolidating, a region which belongs to it and is part of its sovereign territory. And I think the problem is not about whether the move was democratic or not. As I said, it is democratic. The problem is, what does Pakistan do in response? Because they are threatening to unleash terrorism, and they have just released Hafiz Saeed, the UN proscribed terrorist who has led Lashkar-e-Taiba, one of the most dangerous terrorist groups in the world, equal to Al-Qaeda or ISIS. So they are actually, and the Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan is threatening that we can even go to war. So this is the problem. And from the Indian point of view, the issue is not what we are doing internally with Kashmir, but with the intervention, the unwanted intervention and meddling of Pakistan, which needs to stop. Otherwise, the jihadist problem cannot be solved.
But presumably Prime Minister Modi and his government knew that Pakistan wouldn't just take this decision lying down, that there would be ramifications of such a significant decision.
Yeah, they have prepared. I think India is quite prepared. I mean, Pakistan is desperate because they are seeing that India is taking charge of Kashmir and is not going to let it go. And that has created a panic. And therefore, the Pakistanis are now, coming out with all kinds of warmongering and fear-mongering about what might be happening in Kashmir and all that, because they are going to basically lose their claim over grabbing Kashmir. That has been their policy for the last 70 years. So India is prepared for it. Economically, Pakistan is in very dire straits. They've just been bailed out by the IMF. The US military aid had been withdrawn for last year or so under Trump administration. So they're under pressure. And they're trying to come out of it and claim that we will continue to fight for Kashmir and all that. But I don't think they can afford it. India is a much bigger economy, much stronger military, and in fact, it has defeated Pakistan in most of the wars over Kashmir or over Bangladesh. So going back to history, it shows that it's, for a small state that needs to fix its own problems, I think they should focus internally rather than pointing fingers at India right now, because they cannot afford a war. And I think this is all a lot of grandstanding in order to maintain the Pakistani nationalist myths and to appease Islamists inside Pakistan who are baying for blood and who want to fight.
OK, it's something that's certainly being closely watched near and far. For now, Professor Sreeram Chaulia at the Jindal School of International Affairs, thanks again for your insight on RT tonight.